MATLAB can be used to plot a function. On the screen, you can see I have a script for MATLAB to execute. I have called it plotfun.m, and this script will plot a function. I am going to plot 3 times cosine theta, and I'm going to do that plot for values on the x-axis between 0 and 3 pi. So first I need to define the domain of the function, or the values over which the function will be calculated along the x-axis. So I have created 3 variables: the start value, which is 0, the increments between each values along the x-axis, and I'm choosing to use 0.01 for the increment between values. This will give us a very smooth curve, and we will not be able to see the little tiny lines connecting each of these points that are separated by such a small x distance. And then lastly, I've defined an end value, which is equal to 3 times pi. With those domain variables defined, I can then create this variable theta, which is going to be along the x-axis for my function 3 times cosine theta. And it will be a variable that has a start value and then a semicolon. Actually, it's a colon, not a semicolon. And then an increment, another colon, and an end value. And these 3 variables, as I've described there, are within the square brackets. And I put a semicolon at the end of the line so that it doesn't print this variable to screen. So that's just defining a theta value that starts at a certain point and increments through all these values until we reach the end value. With that defined, we can next define the function that is going to use theta. So I have defined that function as fun, and it is equal to 3 times cosine of theta. Now that I have that defined, I can simply plot the function using the plot function, which is using plot parentheses theta comma fun end parentheses. And that will plot on the x-axis theta and on the y-axis the function fun. And I also will have the grid on, so we'll see a grid in our plot behind our function. We can define the label for the x-axis. And here I'm just simply defining it as theta. And we can actually have the theta symbol show up if we use this backslash and then the word theta. And we use single quotes in here inside the parentheses to surround the label that we want on the x-axis. Similarly, we can create a label for the y-axis, which is 3 cosine theta. Lastly, a title for the plot, and here I have just a simple name of plot of function. So now, after having entered all of that information, I can save that script and I can click on run, and it will plot the function for us, and you can see the result. This same method will allow you to plot other functions. There are some other peculiarities about MATLAB that you have to be careful with, but for now, this would allow you to do some simple functions.